The Orca V was built for silence, a stealth research vessel used to explore the most remote regions of the ocean. It was equipped with the quietest engines, state-of-the-art sonar, and submersibles that could descend into places where light had never touched. Captain Rourke and his five-person crew were sent out to the Kerguelen Abyss, deep in the southern Indian Ocean. Satellite scans had picked up something unusual on the ocean floor, something that hadn't moved in decades, until it did. Could be a thermal vent. Could be a new trench, the science officer, Dr. Alara Jensen, had said, trying to sound casual. But her voice trembled slightly. Whatever it was big, too big, and when it shifted, it caused a tremor that was felt by seismographs across 3 continents. For 5 days, the Orca V sailed without issue. But as they entered the abyss, everything changed. The skies darkened. The sea, usually restless, turned unnaturally still. Birds stopped following the ship. Even the radar showed nothing. No fish, no movement. Just dead silence. Then came a knock. It was around 3:40 a.m. when it happened. A dull, slow knock against the hull from below. At first, they thought it was debris or deep sea pressure. But the knocks grew louder, more deliberate, like something was knocking to be let in. The crew launched the submersible drone. As it descended into the deep, its lights illuminated something impossible, an enormous, jagged tooth the size of a truck embedded in the seabed. Then an eye opened beside it. Not a fish, not a whale, something else. It wasn't sleeping. It was watching. Suddenly, the drone's feed cut to static. Then the sonar let out a long, high-pitched wail. Something massive was moving, rising from the bottom of the ocean. Rourke gave the order to leave. Engines ignited. The ship began to turn. But as they looked behind them, every soul on board froze. The sea had begun to rise. Not waves. Something was coming up. Then they saw it. A head the size of a mountain breached the water, dark, scarred, ancient. A creature that hadn't existed in any record or fossil. Its mouth, filled with rows of jagged teeth, opened wide enough to swallow an aircraft carrier whole. Its eyes, glassy, cold, and old beyond comprehension, locked onto the Orca V. The crew screamed. Rourke pushed the throttle to its limit. The ship cut through the water at full speed, but the thing followed, gliding under them without even breaking the surface. It moved with a purpose, not instinct, intelligence. Below deck, strange groaning echoed through the ship. Metal strained. The ship's walls began to sweat. Literally, sweat. Condensation poured down the walls in thick, black streaks. Jensen reached out to touch it and recoiled. Her hand blistered on contact. "It's changing the pressure," she gasped. The sea itself is warping around it. Suddenly, the engines died. Blackout. Silence. A moment later, the entire ship lifted up. Not rolled. Not capsized. Lifted as if by a giant hand. They were no longer in water. They were in its mouth. The Orca V sat like a toy between the jaws of the creature. The lights from the deck cast eerie reflections off the wet, flesh-like walls around them. Massive teeth surrounded them like ancient ruins. Then, slowly it began to close its mouth. Panic. Screams. Prayers. Rourke climbed to the bridge and fired the emergency flare into the roof of the creature's mouth. The bright red burst illuminated everything. The rotting scars, the parasitic creatures living in its gums, the sheer scale of the beast. But something else too. On the upper jaw, scratches. Marks. Letters. The crew leaned in. There, etched deep into the flesh, were names. Hundreds. Thousands. Ship names. Human names. Some dating back centuries. Some that hadn't even left port yet. The beast had lived long enough to know the ships it would consume, before they even existed. Roar shouted for everyone to abandon ship. They rushed to the emergency rafts, launching into the water with shaking hands. As they drifted, the Orca V finally disappeared into the darkness of the mouth. Then nothing. No splash. No chewing. No sound. Just silence. The survivors drifted in the cold ocean until rescue came. The official report called it a freak accident. The ship was never found. But the crew, what was left of it, never spoke publicly again. But they knew, in the deepest part of the ocean, where the light cannot reach, something ancient still waits. Something that doesn't swim, doesn't hunt. It remembers. And every time a new ship enters the water, it adds another name to its jaw.